Oh, you were already recording this, right?
Yes. Welcome to Rewired and Desired podcast, where intimacy, mindset, and disability intersect. I am Trina Ricketts, and I'm here with my co-host, Nicole Richards. And today we are talking about how our health journeys have impacted us spiritually. And I'm going to tell my story first.
Yes. And then I will get into mine.
And then we will talk about what we think our stories mean. So I was not raised religious at all. And I really just kind of got into learning about God when I was pregnant with my first child because her dad was a Christian. And I started to actually see miracles in my life when I started reading the Bible. But I didn't really stick with the Christianity thing because there were things that also felt weird and wrong to me. And then I got into Wayne Dyer's book, There's a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. And I read that just a couple years before I had emergency surgery for my ostomy. So at this point of the story I'm going to tell you, it's a near-death experience. At this point, right before my near-death experience, I have spirituality in my life. I would say God wants spiritual fruit, not religious nuts. That was kind of my attitude at that time.
I've
And
heard that.
although I loved the Bible and the Bible really brought me to God, it just what didn't resonate, Christianity didn't resonate with me in every way. And what I learned from Wayne Dyer really did. And so some people call it New Age or
Mhm.
something, New Age spiritualism or something like that. And then I went on even more of a journey since then. But at this point of my near-death experience, I saw the world as like a big energy source, the universe as a big energy source. And I had really opened myself up to God and energy. And my life was, not too bad. I was kind of a little bit of a hot-headed twerp. I, got in a lot of fights with my partner who became my husband later. Um, or actually, we just got married not long before this happened. Okay, so yes, we were married. So here I am. I start getting sick. I'm like having like the flu, and I thought it was the flu, feeling really sick in the stomach.
Mhm.
And I had to like actually leave work and go home because I just started to feel so sick. And I was like, God, I'm coming down with something crazy. Went home and thought I need to be back to work within the next 3 days. I'd only been at this job for 3 months. Like I had just the day I went home sick, that
Oh
had
my
been
gosh.
just past my 3-month probationary period.
Oh.
One day passed. So it was a new job and I was feeling the pressure of trying to impress my employer.
Hmm.
I needed to get well fast, but I couldn't get well. 3 days goes by. I'm just still so sick, puking and on the toilet. And I realized I need to go to the hospital, see what's going on. So I go to the hospital. They're like, oh, you probably have a virus. They didn't do anything. I went home.
Hmm. Hmm.
Went back again 2 days later, still sick. They ran an x-ray. They're like, oh, you've got something going on in your intestine, maybe gas or something. Like, here,
Hmm.
take this laxative. I think this was actually like a week in or something. Over
Oh
the
my
course of two
gosh.
weeks, or yeah, for 2 weeks, I didn't go back to work. And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't work. I'm so sick. I don't know what's wrong with me. I
Yeah.
went to the hospital 4 times already, and they just keep sending me home saying it's a virus and then I'll get better. And the very last time I'd gone to the hospital, they said, there's something going on in your intestine. It's probably gas, or it's probably, maybe it's a blockage or something. They said, so take this laxative. So I took the laxative and I got like 1,000 times sicker. I was just
Yeah.
way sicker. And now I'm lying in bed. My husband had taken the kids to daycare and school. and then gone to work. And I'm lying in bed and I get out my phone because we had cell phones then.
Hmm.
And 'cause I remember a
This
time
wasn't
without them.
prehistoric times.
Just saying it wasn't the before time, which I lived through too. And I called my mom and she was driving to work at the time. And I said, Mom, I feel like I'm dying. And she said, Oh, okay, I'm turning around. I'll be right there. And I could tell that, was like she was mad at my husband or mad, that
Mm,
someone didn't notice. And she gets there and she sees that I've lost so much weight in 2 weeks. I'm like this frail, tiny thing. And she calls an ambulance and they take me to a hospital that's not local to me because my hospital apparently is flooded and all this shit. And they totally abuse me at this other hospital. Like they say, we're not going to take any tests until you take another laxative. And I'm like,
mm,
but the last one made me 100,000 times more sicker.
yeah.
I resisted, and finally I was just like behind my curtain, like in so much pain and suffering that I was like, fine, give it to me. So they give me the laxative and I get so much sicker. Okay. Because I had a perforated bowel. I
Oh,
had a hole in my
ugh,
intestine. So all that shit is like getting released into
your
my
body.
body.
Hmm.
And not only that, they don't even run the test. They put me through a CT scan, and before they even get the results back, they send me in an ambulance back to my hospital. And I'm not even like urgently or anything, and I'm like dying. So they get me to the other hospital, and there the staff recognizes the signs of imminent death happening with
Yeah.
me. And they get me into a CT scan with contrast and find out right away that they need to rush me into emergency surgery.
Wow.
And I'm signing this form and I'm high on I remember the pain nurse. Oh my God, I fell in love with her. Just like, oh, taking the pain away,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know? And then I was just like, they're like, do you agree to us, cutting your intestine and you're going to have to wear a bag for a few months and then we'll put you back together. You need to consent to it. And I was like, if it takes the pain away, I
Yeah.
consent.
Yeah.
So I'm the last thing I remember going in to get this surgery done. The next thing I know, I'm waking up in a hospital bed and it's really bright. And there's a bunch of people standing around. They're not wearing hospital gowns, they're just wearing normal clothes. And one of them, they feel familiar.
Yeah.
And one of them like takes my hand and kind of helps me out of the bed, but I don't need help because I can walk, I'm fine, I'm totally, everything's
Wow.
perfectly intact and no pain at all, feeling great. And I start to realize that some of the people that I'm looking at are people from my life who are dead now. And
Wow.
at least one of them is someone that's still alive in my life too. And that really confused me because at first I thought, well, I must be in heaven or I must have died. And then I
Yeah.
thought, oh, but why would this person who's still alive be here then? So it's so confusing. But they're like showing me around and it's just beautiful and bright and there's windows and it's
Wow.
gorgeous and there's just this feeling of peace and calm and happiness and love and uh I just was like, this is amazing. Like I'm so happy right now.
Yeah.
And then I had like this weird all of a sudden kind of whooshing feeling like I was like almost going down like a chute. And then I'm in my body, um, and I'm waking up in another hospital room.
Wow.
And this one is dark. They've got the lights off. There's one nurse with her back to me, wearing all nurse clothes, like
Hmm.
quietly moving around. And I'm in pain. I'm in so much pain, like just can't even move. It's horrible. And then all of a sudden, I'm back in the other hospital. And it's bright and it's cheery and people are hugging me and it's just like it's so wonderful.
Wow.
And then the shoot, and I'm back waking up in this painful hospital again. And somewhere in this kind of back and forth, I don't remember how many times it happened, but I realized that without telling me outright, they were giving me a choice. And I feel like
Mm.
they were trying to show me, like, you're going to suffer. You know, this is going to be suffering if you go back, or you can stay here.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
and and I thought back to my life in that moment, and I thought about what do I want? Or why is there anything to go back to? Was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of temporarily forgotten all about my life. I was just like, wow, I feel great. And who are these people? And didn't even really question what was going on. You know, I kind of thought,
Hmm.
oh, maybe I'm dead, but then I thought maybe I'm not, but didn't really question it. But then I was like, as soon as I thought about my life and remembered my children,
Yeah.
I knew immediately that I there was really no choice. And my choice was to raise my children and to stay alive for my children. And I
Wow.
remember having like this feeling of I don't want my children to have the experience of losing their mother.
Yeah.
So then I immediately woke up in pain in the hospital, in the room where it's dark with the nurse moving around. And she turned and she like realized I was awake. And apparently I had woken up before that once. And like
Wow.
no one mentioned anything about me dying in surgery. So the only thing I can think is that I might have had like an out of body soul
Yeah.
travel type of experience while I was under sedation. I don't know. But I was given a choice, literally given a choice to either stay where I was in the spirit world or whatever, or come back. And for a long time after that happened, I thought maybe it was just like a weird drug-induced dream.
Hmm.
But then I started to hear about other people having really similar near-death experiences or soul travel experiences where they were given a choice. Some weren't given a choice. They're like, no, it's not your time yet. You have to go
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Others were given a choice, and I just thought it was so fascinating, and it changed me like it because I did suffer really
Yeah.
greatly over the next 3 years, especially. I
Yeah.
suffered so much. Like I thought about wanting to kill myself so many
Hmm.
times,
Hmm.
and it was so hard. But I always remembered that I had chosen my children, that I chose this.
Yeah.
And so my children, of course, were like, before that, I was a good mother, but I remember sometimes feeling resentful, like, I wish I could go do this instead of have to
Yeah.
do this mom shit, you know?
Right.
But after, I never felt that way again. I felt just like grateful that I had the opportunity to
Yeah.
raise my children
To
and
come
that
back.
I was going to be here for them, you know? And my
Wow.
gratitude just increased and but it took time, like the pain and what I was going through
Yeah.
at that time. Of course, I was a mess. I was a mess for that 3 years, but I never forgot that. And I think that's what kept me going and helped me
Hmm.
through that time of suffering to come
Mm.
out the other end. And I've developed in my spirituality since then. And I've learned
Yeah.
more about near-death experiences and that
Wow.
kind of thing. And I'm really interested in doing past life regression. And so I want to talk to you about that because I believe you've done
Yes,
that before.
I have. It was an amazing experience, and I still kind of like get clues. I would say like you did this past life experience, and sometimes you don't feel, an immediate like connection to what you think you're going to get out of it. But
Mhm.
for me, I've noticed patterns, and clues even to this day, and I did mine in 2020. What I find interesting about your story is that you had like a one smack dab incident that kind of shifted you immediately, right? My story is a lot different. It was kind of spread out.
Okay.
But what I wanted to say before I forget, because I will forget, is I think it's the Next Level Soul podcast. Do you follow that
No,
podcast?
I don't. I should check it out. I'm going to write that down.
He interviews people who have had NDEs.
Nice.
Yes, and I think that would be an awesome opportunity for you, but also it's just an amazing podcast as well to like
Let's see if he
listen. And
wants to bring me on.
yes, that'd be amazing. He's got a lot of followers, so it'd be amazing. But and just he's a great guy. Like I love listening to his podcast. So but yeah, I guess so getting into my story, um, I went through going to church a little bit. We just went to church growing up, like when my dad needed to make amends for the things that he did or was feeling a certain way. So we'd gather the family, we'd go to church. Never really felt connected in a sense there. Actually, I felt very disconnected. But then growing up into my adult life, when I was having problems in my relationship, I would find myself going to church
Aw.
to get that same feeling, but I never really felt ultimately better. I would feel good for a few days after going to church, but then it would fade. And I know that it was my issue with not, connecting or really taking the time to understand what I was doing. It was selfish. It was all very selfish for me. And I went through a stage where I actually stopped believing that there was even a God. I didn't understand it. And so I had been going to college and, met a lot of people and that also didn't. So I kind of naturally was drawn into not believing in God at all. And then my father passed away. He took his own life. And I remember getting weird signs from him. And I mean, ultimately, for 2 weeks, he literally, I don't want to say haunted, but that's what you would akin it to is he literally was, I was getting calls, I was getting text messages from random numbers, people not answering. It was just a very weird circumstance because at that time, I just didn't even believe in that. And my mind started to slowly shift. And then, as you all know or don't know, I had Crohn's and eventually, ended up having to have a primary first surgery, was where they take out a certain amount of your intestines and to try to get rid of the disease. And so I went into the hospital, had my surgery, was let go, knew I had a fever. And I kept telling the nurses and the doctors, I'm like, I don't feel right. Like, I just don't feel good. I even walked out of that hospital crying because I just knew that there was something wrong.
Mhm.
But I trusted the healthcare. Anything a doctor said at that point, I just did. Because
Mhm.
that's what I just thought that was what you do, right? You trust the doctors and you trust everybody in the healthcare system.
I did too at
Um,
first.
right. So I go home. And luckily, at the time, my ex decided to stay with me and help me through with the kids, because I was unable to really do a lot on pain medications. And I just kept getting sicker. I laid in bed. At one point, I was shivering and convulsing, kind of.
Mhm.
Laying on the couch, he was trying to get me to eat, trying to get me to have popsicles, just anything to do, try to get me to feel better. And I just couldn't. So eventually, he took me into the hospital and I had 100, almost 105 fever. Um, yeah, I mean, I felt immediately just like that was it. I felt like death. What they found was that I had developed what they call C. diff. Have you heard of C. diff?
Yes, I
Yes.
have.
And so I developed C. diff, and I also had a hole and abscesses in my intestines, and that fluid was leaking out into my body. Um, Now I will say that I believe this was like the start of my spiritual awakening, but mine wasn't like I didn't have what you had, Trina, with the seeing it in like almost like a out of body or like a dream state or like
Mhm.
I didn't have that. I just had like where I know something shifted in me, but I didn't know what. So then years go by and, I had my ostomy and all those years I just shoved things down. And while I was starting to believe in things and that there was God now, but I didn't have like a definition to it. It was just, I knew there was something there. I know what I experienced from my father, know what I experienced in that hospital room that day, and then going forward, but I didn't know what.
What
And then
happened in the hospital room that day?
just the knowing that I may not make it, I think it was just
Mm.
really, and then the fevers and I think triggered something.
Uh-huh.
And the more I go forward, it was just really interesting. I have a lot of friends who, in the we connect on this spirituality level.
Hmm.
And fevers are like something that is triggering part of this spiritual awakening. Like,
I've heard that too.
I have you?
I mean, it's possible you did have an out of body experience, but they
Hmm.
didn't let you remember it. Like
But
for
yeah,
me, I can't remember who was there.
yeah,
Even though at the time I remember recognizing
yeah,
people, but I
yes.
can't remember who was there now.
Mm,
So there could be
interesting.
they could have they, as in your soul group or people in the
Sure,
spirit
sure.
world,
Yes,
who are there to like comfort you and guide you, who I think were the people who greeted me in the
yeah,
hospital.
yeah,
Um, they you could have that, you might have had that experience, who knows, but
yeah.
you felt a shift. That's the main thing.
Right. I felt a shift. And so I go on, I get an ostomy, and of course, I shoved everything down. I really acted like there was no big deal, which it didn't feel like a big deal at the time. I'm mom, I'm a single mom, I'm going to school, I'm trying to do all these things and work a full-time job. So I eventually um really lost my mind, essentially. I ended up homeless and living out of my car, and my kids had to stay with their father. I ended up um, just feeling like the weight of the world was on me at that time because it really was. And I didn't really know that really what I was going through was that deep spiritual awakening. And there was a quick shift. And what I think set part of this off was another medical experience. So I had been having some kind of an issue, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but they had to do a spinal tap. And they did a spinal tap, and it didn't close up, but I didn't know my spine didn't close up, and I was leaking fluid a whole time. So I was sitting in my room for 3 days with this terrible headache. And I also got back confirmation. Oh, this is what it was. It was my spine I have a tumor on my C6 vertebrae, and they were making sure it was benign. So they did a spinal tap. They did all sorts of different things. And the spinal tap led to the leaking, which led to this headache, which at the same time I thought I was dying, I opened up my results and was reading the results, and where it said I have a tumor, so I really thought that I was like dying. So the hospital picks
Mhm.
me up, they bring me to the hospital, they have to do a procedure, put my own blood into my spine to get me to feel just normal again, right? And I think that was like the next, like I like to think of spirituality in like levels, where you're kind of here and then you kind of like move up a little bit, and not because you're not in an egoic sense. I just mean like
Yeah.
your spirituality like goes up to these
Yeah,
levels.
you grow in levels for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think even waking up in spirituality or in any kind of religion, like it is all like a level-based thing, right?
Hmm.
And so I all of a sudden I felt the connection, which was like I felt the connection to everything, which was
Wow.
the math, right? So my dad would was communicating with me basically in these number formats, in these sequences. And I was seeing triple digit numbers everywhere I went. So when you see my Ostomy Innovations 222, it's
Hmm.
because 222 is my number. When I see 222, it's like, oh, thank you for telling me that. Thank you
Hmm.
for reminding me. But I see triple digits everywhere, all the
Hmm.
time. And it's when I know I'm in harmony with God and with the universe and
That's good to know
nature.
because I've been seeing them a lot lately too, so I must be in harmony.
You must be. There you go. Look them up. I like to look them up. So I'll just I'll just Google search them. And, I think it's also a personal thing, right? It's like, what does it mean to you?
Hmm.
So that was like the really where I felt like this, like, boom. And it literally went off. Like, I was like, does everyone understand this? Am I the only one who doesn't know this?
Mm.
Or am I the only one who knows this and no one else understands this? Because then you feel alone. You
Yeah.
feel alone. Like, who else can I connect with that understands? And so I kind of sought out that for a little while, but I didn't do anything. Like, I just went online and started looking things up. You start going down rabbit holes and one thing leads to another. But I will say it's been a beautiful experience. And I think that medical issues really have a lot to do with finding that spirituality. And
Mhm.
I believe that it can be through anything. And I think that as long as you are somebody who, I don't care if it's religion and you define it as religion or you define it as spirituality, but I really feel like as long as you are staying on that positive gratitude, thankful, and the thing, your intentions that you put out into the world are pure, then it doesn't matter what religion you call yourself or what you identify as. It's that you are a beautiful person awakening into this and understanding the way that the world actually works. Because it's an amazing, is despite what's going on out here in like what I call the 3D matrix, it's still a beautiful place that we get to learn and grow and experience and co-create this beautiful heaven on earth.
True. It's like when you pass through that, colors get brighter. The world looks beautiful. You stop and notice things that you're grateful for, that are just the tiniest things. And
Mhm.
everyone is connected. And like
Yeah,
I,
right.
I walk around in a state of feeling connected,
Yeah.
most of the time. And when I don't, I can tell right away when I'm not, because that's when I'm getting bitchy about the person driving slow in front of me, or whatever, like how long this lineup is. I'm not connecting with
Hmm.
the universe when I'm
Yeah.
letting myself get into that state.
Yeah.
But it's so incredible. So all of this that you went through led you to trying past life regression. I want to
Yeah.
hear about that because I've actually reached out to a few hypnotherapists,
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
that's the
Hmm.
right word,
Yeah.
to see how much it costs. And it's pretty pricey. And I'm nervous to try it because I'm like, will it even work? What is it
Yeah.
like?
Yeah.
Tell me
No, I
about
would
that.
say I think that a
Maybe we
past.
should explain what it is first.
Oh, sure, that's a great idea. So past life regression is basically when you're put in a hypnotic state, but you're awake. So you're conscious and you're not asleep, right? So it's a certain level, like, and I can't describe the science
It's like
behind
a
it,
trance-like state.
almost like a trance-like state. And basically a lot of people find themselves going back to like the like Roman Empire, Egyptian type ages. And the most of the videos I saw those people going back that far. Well, it didn't work that way for me. I went back maybe to the late 1800s was the latest I went back. But they put you under, you kind of walk through and you just start talking basically and recalling things. It was an amazing experience because still to this day, I'm finding those clues and I'm realizing, even just currently, the situation I'm in with the guy that I talked to you about.
In episode
He,
2.
he's in episode 2. If you want to know, go check it out. Um, he is a very huge part of my past life regression. And I don't really know why. Well, I think I do know why, actually. I shouldn't say I don't know why. And I'll give you that brief little story really quick. So I am very, everything in my life leads to me to some kind of body of water, anchors, lighthouses, the ocean. There's a connection, and I'm not sure why.
Mhm.
And but in when I went under in my past life regression at one point, I was looking out to the ocean and I was looking for my husband that didn't come back from sea.
Wow.
And several years later, I realized after my past life regression, I thought about it and I'm like, what connection to the water, not understanding it. And then I remembered I have a tattoo of a sailboat on my arm.
Wow.
It very strange. And then I get to Newport Beach, and this man that I'm talking about in episode 2 has a boat, and his yacht is parked out front, and he's hit on me, as you know, several times. And what I'm getting from it is that he's kind of a test subject for me, right? Like, are you going to let this man, like every other man in your life, just kind of come and go as he pleases? Or are you going to let that ship just sail, you know?
Mm.
And I
Interesting.
think that's kind of where I've come to with that is I really think that that's part of my past life regression. I mean, it's just one little story. There's so many other stories. I highly encourage it. I think it makes sense. I believe in past lives. I believe that, we have a connection like Trina and I right now. I don't know
They
what
take
our,
you in between lives, like where you're like a soul in between lives.
I didn't see that.
Oh, I
But
wonder if I
so
could do
my
that.
guess though is for you, because based off your story with being in the hospital and having that experience, maybe your connection it goes that way where mine doesn't quite go to that extent.
Mhm.
It's
I'm gonna have to try it.
I
Then
want
we'll
you
have
to
to do
try
a whole
it.
episode on it after I do it.
Yes,
But I
yes.
have to
I
save up because it's freaking expensive.
Is it really expensive by you? I did it when I did it in 2020, and maybe just because not a lot of people were doing it, I got kind of a good deal. It was only a couple $100
Really? Was it online or in person?
in person.
The only people I've found are online, number one.
Yeah.
And I think the least expensive I found was like $223 Canadian,
Okay.
not including tax. I don't know if they tax it. That's a UK person. And
Yeah.
then another person in BC, where I live, who does it online for like $480.
Ooh.
I bet they do. And they require you to do like $150 session first.
No, yeah, that's a lot of money. But you know what? I've looked into it more recently for my son, and I everywhere I was seeing it was like over $400. So I think I just
Mhm.
had a deal.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say too is like I some of this sounds woo woo, right? And you asked me to define woo woo, and a lot of that communities it will okay, like you said, new age, and that's where I would say woo woo kind of fits in with new age. But I want to be clear, I don't like to label it at all. Like I don't believe what we're talking about is new age, and I do believe in like Jesus. I believe in Buddha. I
Hmm.
believe in all those figures that were here because Jesus was, I mean, he was resonated at like 1,000 hertz. He was here, he was high vibrational.
Yeah.
But I believe we're all the son and daughters of God. Like God is in nature, God is in everything we see. And I just want to clearly define that because I don't want to ruffle feathers, but I also want to be very clear on who I am and what I believe
Hmm.
because my healing and I just did a newsletter for my for Ostomy Innovations that just went out a few days ago and it was all about faith and healing and what spirituality means to me and how it helped me heal. And if you find that through Jesus, if you find that through Buddha or Allah or whoever it is that you believe in and that makes you do good things and that you still are a positive person in life and doing things that uplift others, then it shouldn't matter.
Hmm.
It's just who we are.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Well, that's how I feel about like when people don't like me. I'm like, okay, am I being a bitch to that person? No. Am I being super nice to that person? Yes. Do I deserve their hate? No. Therefore, it's not about me.
that's really good. And I thank you for that right now because I'm currently in like a little bit of a weird thing at the moment with some friends and not maybe just one, but that's a really good point. That's a good point.
Mhm.
I needed that right now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's not about you.
Yeah. Well, and that's like the shadow work, right? And that's another thing in the woo woo that we talk about is shadow work and that, when people are coming into your awareness, a lot of times it's because to teach you a lesson or to help you see something within yourself, like a mirror, um, so that
Well,
you can work out.
I've been reading a book, two books actually, by a guy named Michael Newton.
Hmm.
And the first one is called Journey of Souls, and the second
Mm.
one is called Destiny of Souls. And he's a PhD hypnotherapist or psychiatrist or something,
Hmm.
all of the
Hmm.
above. And he shares what he's learned taking his patients into past life regression and in between lives. And
Okay.
so all my whole life I thought that multiple lives, but I didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
And I thought that we can see our loved ones after we die, but I didn't know for sure. I thought that we're a spirit or a soul in
Cool.
having a human experience, but I didn't
Temporary human
know
experience.
for sure,
Mhm.
and I had most recently really started to believe in non-dual Shiva Tantra, which is non-dual means we're not separate from God, we're not separate
Mhm.
from each other, we're not separate from this cup or this wall or anything, that
Right.
everything is made of God energy. It's
Right.
just God energy expressing itself in every way that it is and not in the ways that it's not. And
Right.
so that's we're all made of God.
Yep.
So that's something I always really believed. But until I started reading these books and I was like, is this real? How can this be real? I was like, is this a fiction book? I had to check. I had to check. I was like, because I listened to audiobooks while I drive. I drive a lot.
Yeah.
Like, is this fiction? And I thought it was real
Yeah.
because I was like, this can't be true. But I'm like realizing it because I've gone down the rabbit hole a little bit and started
Hmm.
listening to near-death experiences online, and
Hmm.
listening to these books where he presents case after case after case, and the people he takes into past life regression and life between lives, or soul life between lives. He ask them similar questions and they give similar answers, like the
Hmm.
colors of our
Yes.
spirits between lives. We all have different colors based on the level that we're at spiritually. And the reason we come to earth and have a human experience is actually to learn. So
Yeah.
our suffering is something we intentionally decide to do. And the reason I think this is so important to mention, because it was so comforting to me, and I hope that it's comforting to other people who have been through hell in their health, that a lot, usually more advanced souls do this, where we decide that in our next incarnation, we're going to experience the most difficult
Hmm.
life.
Hmm.
And one of the most, if not the most difficult lives that a person can experience is where they have a broken body. Their
Hmm.
body, they go through lots of health issues or
Yeah.
disabilities or injuries or all of the
Hmm.
above if you're Nicole. And like and the new souls usually don't pick really, really difficult.
Hmm.
They have it hard enough just getting into a human body and
Yeah.
not effing up their whole life as a human because they're immature souls.
Hmm.
But the more advanced souls try to pick harder lives that are going to give them more opportunities to become pure and become more spiritual. And so you
Yeah.
and I are examples of people who our struggles and our challenges and our suffering has made us get closer and closer and more spiritual
Right.
throughout our
Right.
lives, and can actually look back at our hardships and say, I'm glad that happened to me because it made me a better person. It brought me
Yeah.
closer to God.
Yes.
I'm more grateful. I'm happier. I'm
Yes.
my closer to my family. Like everything
Yes.
happened that is so
Yes.
much better for me. But
Yeah.
um, but we could have also, and the first time I had the ostomy, and like the first time you went through your shit, we can also go the other way where it's just too much.
Yeah.
And and so that is the test of our souls. Our
Yeah.
souls are being tested when we go through this. This
Yeah.
is what I'm learning from this book. And I encourage people to listen to it or read it and tell me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Tell me
No.
if I'm wrong. Um,
No. Dolores
yeah.
Cannon. Have you heard of Dolores Cannon?
No, I think you mentioned her in another
Okay.
podcast.
She also has done tons of past life regression sessions and also has had that same premise come up where she believes that we're in a nurse school and that we're here to teach and learn, and
Yeah.
not only just for ourselves but for the people that surround us. So
Hmm.
family is another thing. Like, I've noticed that people who are kind of into that same kind of situation are also, are this kind of spirituality,
Hmm.
also experience, the problems with families, and not just the problems with health, but the issues that are surrounding being in a family knit, in a very tight knit family, but where there's something creeps in and you're kind of the black sheep, and
And we
I would
choose
say
our
I'm definitely the
families.
black sheep.
Yeah,
But
and
that,
we choose our families. So we can't, like,
yeah,
if we've spent our whole lives hating one of our parents, because of how they did this or how they did that. We actually chose that before
Yeah.
we came into our bodies. We
Yes.
decided we're going to put ourselves through that so that we can learn from it and become better. And
Yeah.
so, mending those relationships is proof that we are becoming more like the universal source, or more like God, or more like whatever it is you want to call it, your higher power. But the more we can be compassionate, the more that we can love, forgive, accept, not take things personally, the more that we can exude those qualities and really experience that in our lives,
Hmm.
the closer we come to that spiritual being and
Yeah.
that spiritual
Yeah.
feeling that we're all chasing. And it also, like for me as a single woman, I don't feel like this urgency to get into a relationship because I feel whole. I
Yeah.
already feel whole. I don't have
Yes.
an emptiness that I need to fill. Do I think it would be
Same.
amazing to have like a partner that I'm in love with and that we share everything and it's amazing. Yeah, but I'm not in a hurry for that. And I just got out of that like,
Yeah.
a year and a half ago. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm ready to take some time because I think I said in my first like major episode where we talked about my things, or I can't remember, but I said I'm a serial monogamist and my
Yes.
whole life I've been in one long-term relationship after another.
Yes.
And I'm not doing that again this time. I'm going to stay single. And I have at least until my kid gets out of high school. So
Right.
that gives me a minimum goal.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll break that pattern. Maybe I will
Yeah.
be alone forever. But one of the things that I've learned from this whole destiny of souls and journey of souls thing is that we are in soul groups when we're in between lives. Okay, if
Hmm.
this is true, which I'm starting to believe it is, we're in soul groups in between lives, and the people who are in our soul groups are the people that we coordinate how our lives are going to be
Hmm.
in our human forms. So the people that you have met who you felt like this overwhelming connection with, and they could have been fleeting members of your life or a past
Hmm.
boyfriend or a future or
Yes.
one of your children or one of your parents or your cousins, but somebody who's been in your life that you felt like when you met them, you just had this weird, strong, like soul attraction to them. And it's
Yes.
so hard to explain. And I've had that happen with a few different people in my life. And I always wondered, what is that?
Yeah.
Why do I feel this weird,
That's that.
strong, like
Yes. That's
connection
the
with this?
guy that I was telling you about in episode 2.
Yeah,
That is exactly like I know that there's something, and now it all makes sense. And it's not just the past life regression and then him having a yacht. There's so many other things in
so there's
between. I can't even
signs.
begin to tell you. We're both the same blood type, O negative. We're both Leos. We're both from the Midwest. We're both
Yeah.
Italian. There's just like so many things, right?
So it's
Um,
possible that you're supposed to have an experience with him.
yeah,
To me,
and
that's what it seems like.
100% there is, and I
Yeah.
don't know what it is yet. And in
Hmm.
some of these past life regressions, you don't know right away, and it takes years sometimes. My friend also, someone who's been a huge part of my life, he was a salmon fisher and he's very much connected to the ocean. He has, and I don't know what the name of the guy is, but it's a guy who's like blows the ships
Okay.
and his arm, and it's on his arm, his tattoo. So it's blowing my ship. My ship's on this arm. And he's helped me out so much with he helped me get my trailer and my
Wow.
things set. Yeah, it's just amazing. But really quick, you touched on a couple things I want to say. Um, you said that, we chose this, right? We chose this journey, right?
Mhm.
I also believe there's time travel and that time is linear, right? Like time, past, present, future really all exist simultaneously.
It does in the spirit world for sure.
So do you think there's a way to go back and change even the trajectory of what you said you were going to learn in this lifetime through chat? Do you believe that?
I mean, okay, keep going.
And secondly, the most recent um I like to call them mind fuck moments, like where I love talking about mind fuck shit, right? So my this mind fuck is, do we could we, because we choose to forget and then come back, right? We
Hmm.
choose to forget and then come back and have to relearn everything. But is there a way, like a time capsule, I could take this, whatever it is, knowledge, item, whatever it is, and put it somewhere so that when I come back next time, I can remember faster or better?
That sounds like something more advanced souls need to do. And if we're still incarnating, we're not quite to the advanced level. But I have had feelings of like I'm a soul guide. I've had
Mm.
these weird feelings like I'm a soul guide, and I have a few people that are in my life that I feel like I'm here to guide them.
Okay.
That's part of my purpose.
I've been told that by somebody that they thought I was a guide for them, but I always thought of guides as I was, and I know I'm wrong. I thought that they were like just spirit guides, as in the spiritual realm.
Mhm.
But now that you said that, I have been noticing more that that makes sense. It makes sense that people come into your life. My sister always says that for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Mhm.
And I believe that that's why they're in your lives, is because
Mhm.
that's what you chose. Those are the people
And
that I'm tied
that's why
to.
we have these really strong connections, is because some part of us does remember, because before we came into these bodies, we did something to remember that when we see this person, we'll recognize them somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'll recognize them, but we won't know why what it is about them. And like for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's been very odd people. Like one of them is a cousin who I introduced to a friend. And then she left her husband for my cousin. And then they
Oh,
had a violent
wow.
relationship. And
Wow.
he was abusive towards her. And then he ended up going to jail for it. And when he got out of jail, she stayed with him. And he was trying to get his life back in order. And that was around the time I was getting married. And I still loved him. Like it was
Yeah.
that was what he taught me is that a person can do really terrible things and you can still love them. That was the first thing he taught me. The
Yeah.
second thing he taught me, because he helped me with so much stuff, he was the only person that would be there if I called him with my car dead on the side of the street. He helped me with my wedding. He helped me through so much, with so many things I needed help with. Um, and he taught me that a person can do really terrible things and still also do really amazing, wonderful things. So I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot from that relationship. And he was one of
Mm-hmm.
those people in my life where as soon as like we started hanging out as kids, I felt it. And then I didn't see him for like 15 years or something. And when he
Mm-hmm.
was back in my life again, I felt it again. Like I felt, and I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
because, oh, this is weird. It must be because we're family,
Yeah.
And then I also had it with my ex that I was with for 9 years. I had that feeling of, I know this person.
Yeah.
I have this weird
Yeah.
connection with this person. And I would
Mm.
even feel like an elastic band was being stretched when we were apart.
Oh,
It was very
interesting.
weird. And now we're broken up and we're still friends and we'll probably be friends forever. But I feel like he and I are in a soul group together,
Yeah.
probably.
That's interesting. I think it's like thinking about how we're talking. This is amazing that I think it's absolutely incredible that you and I found each other too, and that we have this connection, which
Mhm.
we don't have to know exactly why or what it is for, but it's so interesting. And I also just want to say that the people watching this, like, we're a niche group, right? We're ostomates who are talking about now spirituality, even more of a niche experience. And
Yeah.
so, I just want the viewers to understand that some of it may sound absolutely insane. It may sound that way, but
It does.
I guarantee you, we are sane people. Trina and I, we're actually very
Yeah.
sane. And we just love what we do. We love what
Mhm.
we do, and we love that. I think, like, you made a really good point to say, like, we're better people because of it, right? We're
Mhm.
better because of it. We're walking a path that feels right and it feels good to us. And that's what matters. And as long as we're projecting that out into the world, I think that's what makes the most difference, you know?
Yes. I mean,
Love,
if
love.
this could bring comfort to other people like it has for us, possibly,
Yes.
that's the
Yeah.
biggest reason I feel like we needed to
Yeah.
talk about this and
Yeah.
share it.
Not to change
Um,
people's minds, just to
yeah,
give our experience because
I know.
we're open to everything. Like I'm open to if it being a religion for you, let it be a religion.
Yeah,
Great. It works for you, but this is just us.
totally. And the thing is my understanding of like the spirit world is that many people who are in religions, for instance, and when they have their soul experience, their soul spirit guides will show up as angels for them.
Yes.
And they or they'll see Jesus.
Oh, I need to
You
tell
know
you
what
a
I
story.
mean? And that
Yes.
and but that only happens usually for people who've been open to that experience in their human life. And for me, I didn't see Jesus. I didn't see an angel. And the people that I saw were like dressed in normal, but they were dressed in bright colors. That's what I remember. The
Mm,
colors were just so bright. And it
mm.
was just such an incredible feeling. And actually, after that, I started to wonder, is everyone given a choice when they're dying?
I wish I would have had a little bit of that, but let me, I did have real quick story I want to tell. When I was like 7 or 8, there was a church that was in our area, and it was a Catholic church. A woman had, we didn't go to it. We weren't Catholic at the time, obviously, but my mom had heard that this woman had stood up in church and she saw Jesus on the wall in the back.
Wow.
And so people were coming from all over the world to come see this vision of Jesus on the wall. And so my mom took, which was very strange. Now that I look back, she only took me. Like I had 3 other brothers and sisters, but she only took me. And we went to go stand in line and see this image of Jesus. And when we get in, I not everybody could see. Not everybody could see it. I don't remember if my mom did, but I did. But not only did I see this vision of Jesus, I saw angels everywhere,
Wow.
all over the other side of the wall. And um I'm so connected to angels. Like right now in my life, like angels are my thing. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
That's
I just wanted
very
to share
cool.
that.
See, so there's an example right there. That
Mhm.
reminded me of two things. Like I think that my dad passed away of lung cancer
Mhm.
when he was 62 in 2014. And I was in the hospital when he died, and it was
No.
it was a very painful time. But two things I wanted that happened. I now think I didn't at the time, but very recently have come to believe that my dad is also in my soul group in the
Yeah.
spirit realm.
Yeah.
And one day when I was in the hospital after my major surgery, my wound wasn't closing. My open
Hmm.
abdominal surgery, my wound wasn't closing and my intestine was starting to stick out.
Mm.
So they're like, we have to take you into surgery again. And they gave me hardly any notice. And I was alone
Mm.
at the hospital and no one was there. And I had all this fear and I had no
Yeah.
one there with me. And I was feeling so scared and alone. And
Yeah.
right before they wheeled me out for surgery, a bouquet of flowers arrived. And I looked at it. I was like, who is this from? And I opened the card and it was from my dad. It was before, like, he was still alive at this time.
Okay.
And it was from my dad. And I was like, wow, like there's a whole backstory of like the turmoil I went through with my dad in my life.
Yeah.
But in that moment, my dad showed up for me. Like,
It's
and
crazy.
and it happened at the exact right time. And that was one of those things where I was like, this is
Yeah.
divine intervention. Like it
Yes,
had to be.
100%. Yes.
And so then I went into surgery and I remember like it just was so much more comforting. So fast forward, my dad dies like a year later or something like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
He gets lung cancer and
Mm.
it's
Oh, sorry.
late stage 4.
Yeah.
And and he dies and it's, heartbreaking and I'm so sick and I'm so frail and he lived in Courtney, which is on
Hmm.
Vancouver Island. You have to take a ferry. It's a couple hours drive on top of a couple hours ferry. So,
Yeah.
I hardly ever saw him, honestly. And the ferry's like $200 each way. So like
Oh,
it's just
geez.
crazy. So after he died, I actually felt like he was closer than
Mm.
I did when he was alive. And I remember
Okay.
thinking how weird that was. I actually felt like somewhat closer to him.
Hmm.
And now, knowing what I know about souls and the spirit
Makes
world,
sense. Mm-hmm.
we can visit people on earth as souls and we can bring them
Mm-hmm.
comfort and try to be there for them. And I think my dad, because I was suffering so much and going through so much medical stuff at the time, came to me during that time. And
Yeah.
I believe he spent some time, with me.
Yeah,
And that's why I felt like he was closer than he was when he
for
lived,
sure.
when he was
100%.
alive,
And it could be why you are alive. And I've been thinking that my father's actually keeping me alive because I've had so many close encounters. I wouldn't call them near death experiences, but the clear cases I should have died or could
Mhm.
have easily have passed away. And I think that he's protecting, just like you,
Mhm.
protecting us in that realm because we don't have, or we have a job to do with the ancestral trauma and the ancestral um, goals and the ancestral what we need to do in the future needs to be done, and it may be through our lineage that we have to keep it going.
Well, I mean, the thing is we're still alive.
Yeah.
That tells us
Sometimes I question that.
well, I do too. Are we living in a video game?
No, I didn't.
But
I remember telling my mom and my sister, I was like, what if I did die? And they were like,
and this is an alternate reality.
oh gosh, is she
But in
okay? And
another, like in a parallel universe, maybe we did die.
yeah,
But in
yeah,
this life, in this universe, we
right.
lived, which means we're not done yet. It means that we still
Yeah,
have a purpose. Our purpose hasn't been fulfilled. Otherwise, the
100%.
spirit world would have said, "You did it. Come on home."
And I think it's beautiful that we're finding our purpose. Like we know that we're supposed to help people with ostomies. Like
Mhm.
bottom line is we help people with ostomies. Like if
But for
we
even for people who haven't found their purpose yet, like just knowing that you must have a purpose
for
because you're
sure.
still here. The
Yeah.
bag doesn't mean that your life is over. It means that you're still fulfilling your purpose. And therefore
Yes.
you can't just give up now. You can't
No.
just go through the motions of living. You need to really live.
And that's what they call the hero's journey. You're on your hero's journey. You're
Yeah.
slaying dragons. You're conquering the hardships and the obstacles that are being put in front of you.
Hmm.
It's beautiful. It's
It
actually
is.
really beautiful.
It is. And if you think of it like a video game, like I do, then when we go through the same hardships over and over again, it's because we haven't passed that level yet.
Right. Right. I'd say that I tell this story and I'm going to say it quickly again. When I was laying in the hospital bed, January 13th, 2025, after this accident, I said, I said, God, what do you want me to know? And what is the lesson here? And I repeated that and I repeated it and I repeated it and I repeated it. And I did not feel victimized at all, not whatsoever. And that was the most
Did the
powerful moment
answer
I
come to
felt.
you?
Huh?
Did the answer come to you?
I mean, not necessarily. I can't say it's an answer. It's just that I knew if I was grateful in the moment, and I really was truly grateful to still be alive, to be actually walking and talking, quote unquote walking, that I knew that I did get to another level, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. Like
Yeah.
I know that I did learn my lesson, and that was to not, and I guess it was to not feel victimized.
There you go. So you did have the
I
answer.
did. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you for sure. Thank you for helping me recognize
Yeah,
that. Well,
no,
again,
that's cool.
Trina using her coaching expertise. I
I do
did.
feel that
Yeah.
way too. Like I felt like there was a message in this. And I remember when I was really sick and I still believed everything happens for a reason, but I was like, what possibly could this reason be for this? And now looking back, I
Yeah.
know the reason. I
Yeah.
can tell you the reason. The reason
Sure.
was one, I learned about natural healing. So my kids
Yes.
will never be hooked on pharmaceuticals.
Right.
And my grandchildren won't either because I've
Right.
passed my knowledge on to my children.
Yes.
And I learned how to be resilient. I learned what really matters in life.
Yeah.
I learned how important my relationships are.
Yes.
Like I learned so much that I would not
Yes.
have learned if I did not go through that. And so I urge
Exactly.
anyone who's feeling lost after an ostomy surgery to try to do what Nicole was doing and ask yourself those questions of what do I need to learn from this?
Hmm.
Wasn't that
Hmm.
it? What do I
Yeah.
need to learn from this?
What is this trying to teach? What do I need to learn from this? And what are the lessons?
Yeah. Like
I mean,
why?
basically the same thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
But they're kind of different because it's a way that you're feeling like, how can I justify this for myself that this is okay? And what do I need to know going forward to play
Yes.
this out?
Yeah. And then you're also learning things in the moment. Like you're learning, um, I learned things like I have to stop depending on the medical system. I have to
Right.
take control of
Right.
my own health. I have to be a good example for my children and not turn into an alcoholic from the trauma of the medical system. Things like
Yeah.
that. Like I learned like, and I became so much less self-centered.
Oh, that's a huge thing. Thinking back to the old Nicole, because I believe I'm a new version, and I
Mhm.
still have more to go.
Yeah.
But that old version was such the victim, like
Yeah.
I'm so
Mine
sick
too.
and nobody else in my family has what I have, which they don't. But that's okay. Now I know why I have it. Now
It
I
was
know
why
why.
me? Why me? Why
Right,
me?
right, right.
Yeah,
That was amazing. This is a
that
good
was.
episode. I love it.
I feel so good
I
right
could talk about this all day. Like I could go
now. Me too.
on and on and on, especially around a campfire, which I'm about to do in a couple days. But yes,
Well, I'm going to start saving up for a past life regression, and once I do it, we can do a whole episode. I'll tell you guys everything that
I love
happened.
that. Yeah, we'll do a whole episode on that. Yeah, I'll write down all my experiences so I remember because there's a lot of different nuggets in there. So,
Mhm. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for
yes, thank
sharing all of that with
you.
me. I feel so uplifted right now. I hope you do too.
I do. I do. This is my favorite topic. So, we'll have to do part two sometime.
Yes, for sure. We'll
So, thank you for
definitely
sharing.
revisit this.
Yeah.
We could pick something in particular and go really dive into it.
Yeah. Love
So
it.
our next week we're doing our master class, and the week after, our next podcast episode is going to be about
Relationships.
dating with
Well,
an ostomy.
dating
Yeah, dating
with
with
an
an
ostomy.
ostomy. Yeah.
Hmm.
Two single girls here. I've been dating. Nicole,
I
have you
have
been?
not been. I mean, like, there's been a little like things many years ago, but nothing. So, I'm like you had said, like we're whole, and I know our spirituality keeps us whole. But I would love to find somebody who. But let me tell you, it's going to be very hard to find somebody because I believe that they have to not only know where to stimulate you somewhere, but they need to stimulate your brain,
Yes,
number
I'm the
one.
same. I'm looking for someone with a big brain.
Exactly.
Or a big
Ah.
soul. I don't know, something like that.
Me too. Yeah.
How I've been looking at dating, and of course I'll talk about this in the next episode, but how I've been looking at it is I'm just doing it for fun, just to meet
Yeah.
people, get
That's a
out,
great idea.
learn about people, and also to experiment, see how people react when I tell them about my ostomy, if I tell them about my ostomy.
That is a
Um,
great, this is
Figuring out
perfect
when
for
is a good
you.
time to tell. And like,
Yeah.
as an intimacy coach, I feel like I should have experience with dating and online dating
Yeah.
and
You're basically
telling
going in,
people I have
you're
an
basically
ostomy.
going into clinical trials.
Yeah, exactly. It's like field research.
Yeah. Love
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Yeah. So I've done
Hands-on
a lot.
research.
And because we have 2 weeks between now and when we do the next podcast, I'm going to try to do some extra dating in the next 2 weeks so I can bring lots of fresh experience to it. And Nicole, you have to flirt.
I
Over the
will.
next two
Okay.
weeks, you have to
I
do a lot
can't.
of flirting.
So I can do that because I have like 5 more days off before I have to go back to doing what I was doing in my caregiver role.
Mhm.
So I will be out in the desert at Palooza for a couple days. So I'll do it. I'll do it.
And then when you're back and you're only online, you can flirt online too,
I
Nicole.
suppose I'm not on
I want to
any
see what
dating
kind
site.
of weirdo things happen if you flirt online.
Okay. I'll just get on the Facebook dating thing because I'm not trying to be on any sites, but I'll do that
Sure,
and flirt.
sure.
Ugh, okay.
You can just flirt with people you know too. You don't have to go on the dating app if you really don't want to. But that'll be something we'll talk about. We'll talk about the pros and cons of dating apps too.
Okay. Good idea.
All right.
Awesome.